हेलो बच्चों हेलो बच्चों वेलकम टू आवर लाइव क्लासेस ऑफ क्लास 10 chapter 6 life process and this classes is provided by Laksh IITN Academy Katul Board and I am Raman sir who giving you lecture of chapter 6 life process. So children, today we study about life process. There are different life process in our body and we respire, we take food and we digest food, we excrete our waste products. Various movement have been done in our body. So various life activities and life processes are continuously happening between in our body. Okay, so how we know that we are alive and something that which is not alive? Okay, so first by watching anything we can say that it is alive or it is not alive. Like a dog is running, a cow is chewing, or a man is shouting loudly, है ना? When we watch that organism, that person, we can say that are living beings. But what when they are sleeping? Then how we know that they are living things? Okay, so while anybody is sleeping, their breathing is continuously going on. So then we understand that it is living. So now, what about plant? है ना? We cannot see them the process of breathing. So how we know that they are alive? We know they are alive by their color. Their green color indicate that they are living, because most of the plant are in green color. So we will also discuss here the NCERT question of this chapter. Uh, so this question is given in your chapter, that what criteria do we see used to decide whether something is alive? Okay, so the criteria are for a plant that they are green, okay, but growing means increase in number or increase in height. This is growth. So first indication of life is growth. When we see growth in any organism, we can say that it is living. In other words, uh, a sort of movement, either growth related or not. In other words, so growth is a common evidence for being alive. But a plant is not visibly growing, is still alive, and some animals can breathe without visible movement. This also can be happen. So this is the question of previous board of 2021 of 1 mark. It question is कि using visible movement as the defining character of this is not enough. Only by looking at the visible character we cannot decide that something is not alive. So we go on some other character to decide whether it is alive or not. In fact, viruses do not show any molecular movement in them until they infect some cell, and that is partially why there are controversial about whether they are truly alive or not. When we see virus, we consider them a link between living and non-living cells, because they show some character of living and some character of non-living. Only when they enter a host like animal, plant, or bacteria, then only then they do the activities of living. Otherwise, they look like they are non-living things. Next question is of this chapter is that why are molecular movements needed for life? So the answer of this question is living organisms are well organized structure. Our body is made up of cell. The group of cell became tissue, and tissue became an organ system developed, then our whole body system developed. Some organisms are only made of one cell, they are called unicellular organism, but some organism, higher or developed organism, are made of multi-cell, they are called multicellular organism. Okay, and body organization in some organism is only of cell level, and in some organism of tissue level, and in some organism organ system level, and so on. So different type of organism and different type of parameters are involved in this case. So a process of repairment and maintenance is always going on in our body, and our body is made of molecules. So there is always molecules around us. Without molecules we are nothing. Now next question is of your textbook is that what are the maintenance process in living process? So we will discuss this question. Answer of this question is the maintenance function of living organism must go on even when they are not doing anything particular. Okay, we'll look ourselves, and only we can look outside of our body. What is going on inside of our body we cannot understand. But here this answer suggests that the maintenance process in our body is always going on. Even we are sitting, even we are sleeping. So all type of process of life together perform the maintenance job of our body. That all process are called life process. And this process is needed for prevention from damage and breakdown, and this process required energy to do their job. And how this energy come? Question is how this energy come? The energy comes from outside the body. The energy comes from the outside the body of the individual organism. So there must be a process to transfer a source of energy. For us, the sun is the ultimate source of energy for us. Plant gather energy from sun by the process of photosynthesis, and all the heterogeneous organisms depend on plant or other animals for the energy. And when we take food, we obtain energy, and this process is called, we call it commonly nutrition. Now next question is that what are outside raw material used by an organism? So answer is the body size of the organism is to grow additional, and raw material will also be needed from outside. Since life on earth depends on carbon based, the creatures on this world, us or anything, any organism, the most part of our body is made up of carbon. Our body is made up of carbon based molecules. So life on earth depends on carbon based molecule, and most of our food are also carbon based. So depending on the complexity of this or carbon sources, different organism can then use different kind of nutritional process. The outside source of energy could be quite varied since the environmental is not under control of the individual organism. So in what habitat an organism is living, it decide their nutrition intake. There are different type of factors. When we take any source of nutrient, we have to break down that. By breaking down of that source of nutrient, we obtain energy, and that energy is useful for various activities of life, for the growth of body. And for this, series of chemical reaction is always going on in our body. Oxidizing reaction, reduction reaction, or both reaction, oxidizing, reducing reaction, are the most common chemical reaction to break down molecules. For this, many organisms use oxygen. Oxygen help in oxidation of many things, source from outside the body. The process of acquiring oxygen from outside the body and to use it in the process of breakdown of food sources for cellular it needs, we call it respiration. So there is difference in breathing and respiration. Breathing means inhaling of gases and exhaling of gases, but respiration is the overall process of uh, breathing plus oxidation of food, breakdown of food to get energy. This overall process is called respiration. So this is the difference between breathing and respiration. So now question for you, it is optional question, is that organism break down large food molecules to small molecules. How does this breakdown help the organism? So first option is it releases a lot of energy in the digestive tract that can be used up by the cells. Second, it ensures that there are enough raw materials to produce and supply oxygen to the cells. Third, it converts the large molecules to small molecules that can pass through the cell membrane. And last option is it makes sure that the liberation of heat by breakdown of large molecules does not occur inside the cell. So how this happen? How the large food molecules are break down in small molecules? The answer of this question is that it converts the large molecules to small molecules that can pass through the cell membrane. So this is the answer. And you already know that what is the diffusion process. The going on of any gas from higher concentration to the lower concentration is called diffusion. Now it is also your exercise based question, that why is diffusion insufficient to meet the oxygen requirement of multicellular organism like humans? So answer is that in multicellular organism like us, our every cell is not in contact of outside environment. So only by diffusion we every cell of our body, especially inside of the body, cannot exchange gases, or by this process if they do diffusion, it will take a lot of time. Thus simple diffusion will not meet the requirement of all the cells. And in multicellular organism, various body parts have specialized in function they perform. So now we see Function of specialized tissue. The function of specialized tissue are uptake of food and oxygen. However, this poses a problem since the food and oxygen are now taken up at one place in the body of the organism. Okay, but it has to go to the different part of the body. So there is a need of transportation process to exchange the energy or the nutrient to go in the every cell of our body. And in this chemical reaction, when oxygen is in taking and breakdown of substance is happening, the byproduct or harmful product can be produced. And when they produce when the waste product are produced in our body, their excretion is also needed in our body. So the process of removal of waste things in our body is called excretion. So now we will discuss various process of life one by one. We will take nutrition as the first process of our body, and we will discuss the question related to it, what question are asked in the previous board exam, and what are and for how marks they are asked, and which year they have asked. So first question is here is that why is nutrition necessary for the human body? So we do when we do anything like when we walk or when we ride bicycle, we are using up energy. Even when we are not doing any apparent activity, energy is needed in our body to various tasks. We also need materials from outside in order to grow, develop, synthesize protein and other substance needed in the body. So for making the requirement of the body, nutrition is very essential, and the source of energy and materials is that what food we eat. We eat food for energy and materials. Now many questions are here. Three difference between autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. How do living things get their food? And third question is what are the difference between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition? Okay, so now we will discuss the answer of this question. The general requirement for energy and material is common in all organisms, but it is fulfilled in different ways. Some organisms use simple food material obtained from inorganic sources in the form of carbon dioxide and water. These organisms, the autotrophs, in which organisms are called autotrophs? Green plants and some bacteria who, who make their food by their own are called autotrophs. They not depend on other organisms for their food. They make their food by their own, so they call autotrophs. They use sources like carbon dioxide, water for their nutrition. When other organisms take food by the plant, they they break down the complex substance to simpler substance and obtain energy from that. Organisms use biocatalysts like enzyme for this. So the heterotrophic survival depend on directly or indirectly on autotrophs, which heterotrophic organisms include animals and fungi. So now we will discuss about autotrophic nutrition. Question is, what is photosynthesis and what is the mechanism of photosynthesis, and mention the organ and the site of photosynthesis in green plant. What are the raw material essential for this process? How are they obtained? Write complete balance chemical equation for the process. Name the byproduct. And what are the necessary conditions for autotrophic nutrition? And what are its byproducts? So these are the question. And also one question is here is that the autotrophic mode of nutrition requires. Option are carbon dioxide and water, chlorophyll, sunlight, and all of the above. Comment your answer. What is the answer of this question? The autotrophic mode of nutrition requires carbon dioxide and water, chlorophyll, sunlight, and all of this. Comment your answer quickly. So the answer of this question is that the autotrophic mode of nutrition requires all of this. Means carbon dioxide and water, chlorophyll and sunlight. All these are requirement of autotrophic mode of nutrition. And uh, look at this question: organ and site of photosynthesis in green plant. So answer of this question is that organ is leaf and site is chloroplast in the leaf for the photosynthesis process. And raw materials are carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, chlorophyll. And how they obtained? We will look the answer of this. First, carbon dioxide. How it is obtained? Land plant absorb carbon dioxide from the air. All the land plant absorb carbon dioxide from the air, while aquatic plants absorb carbon dioxide dissolved in water. And it enter into leaf through stomata. What is stomata? What is structure of stomata? We will discuss later on this video. Now, next requirement is sunlight or energy. So the site of photosynthesis, that is chloroplast, traps solar energy and the light energy, and it is converted into high energy phosphate, that is adenosine triphosphate. Now next is water. Water is absorbed by roots. and by roots through the xylem of the process of suction and transpiration pool. And chlorophyll that is already present in the leaf of plant, in the chloroplast. So this is the answer of how different things are obtained by plant. So carbon energy requirement of the plant is fulfilled by photosynthesis. It is the process by which autotroph takes substance from the outside and convert into store from of forms of energy. So here is the material which is taken from the carbon dioxide and water. It will convert in carbohydrate in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So photosynthesis is the process in which carbon dioxide and water convert into carbon dioxide and water and oxygen gas releases. So this process is called photosynthesis. And in this process carbohydrate is made, but plant not utilize the whole carbohydrate immediately, so they store carbohydrate in the form of starch, which serve as the internal energy, reserve energy for them to be used later, or whenever their requirement. A somewhat similar situation is seen in us, where some of the energy derived from the food we eat in our body also. We eat food, some food is utilized quickly, and some food which is not necessary at that time, that is stored in our body in the form of glycogen. Now the next question of previous board, which is asked in 2020 for 2 marks, is that state the way by which a gas is released during photosynthesis. And in 2018 of 2 mark question is that write 3 events that occur during this process. So here is the answer. The following events occur during the process. Look at this equation. This is carbon dioxide, this is water, and in the presence of sunlight, in the chlorophyll, it converts into glucose in the solid form and oxygen in gaseous form releases, and water also in liquid form. So you must remember this equation, practice this, because this equation is frequently asked. So we are looking at the event of photosynthesis. First event is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. This is the first event. And second, conversion of light energy to chemical energy, and splitting of water into hydrogen and oxygen. This water is split into what? Hydrogen and oxygen, because water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So here water is splitting into hydrogen and oxygen, and this oxygen is also obtained from water. This oxygen is obtained from water, and carbon dioxide is reduced into glucose. So this is the event of photosynthesis. Desert plant take up carbon dioxide at night and prepare an intermediate which is act upon by the energy absorbed by the chlorophyll during the day. Now, next question is that how each of the components of our reaction are necessary for photosynthesis. Okay, so if you carefully observe the cross section of leaf in microscope, you will notice that some cell contain green dots. These green dot or cell organelles are chloroplasts which contain chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. Look at this diagram. This diagram below showing a leaf, and here we have covered this leaf portion of leaf by black paper for a period of 3 days. After 3 days this paper has been removed, and when we test it, the area which is under the black paper, it shows the negative starch test, and the rest portion which is not covered by black paper have showed positive starch test. Means starch has been made in all the green parts except this portion, because this portion has not trapped the sunlight. So the process of photosynthesis has not been done in this process except other process, except other portions. So the question is that what was the experiment trying to test? If option is if plant make their own food, option B if light is required for plant to make food, option C if plant can respire in the absence of light, and D if plant can survive even in the absence of light. So what is the right option is here? Tell me your answer by commenting on our video. So comment quickly. Student, comment your answer. I am repeating the question. What was the experiment trying to test? If plant make their own food. B if light is requirement for plant to make food. C if plant can respire in this absence of light. D if plant can survive even in the absence of light. So I am telling you the answer of this question. Here this experiment is showing that light is required for plant to make food. Now we will see the answer of the question, how the plant obtains carbon dioxide, what are stomata, and what governs opening and closing of stomata. This question has been asked in 2020 of 1 mark. Question here is that leaves of healthy potted plant were coated with Vaseline. Leaves of healthy potted plant is covered with coated with Vaseline. Will the plant remain healthy for long? Give reason to justify your answer. This question has been asked in 2018 for 2 marks. So answer is that when we apply Vaseline or when there is a Vaseline coating on the leaves, the plant will not get sufficient carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Plant will not get carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So the gases exchange will not take place and there will be no transpiration. Thus plant will not remain healthy for a long. Here there is no absorption of carbon dioxide and no transpiration here. So plant will not remain healthy for long. So I have told you that I will tell you about stomata later in this video. So this is the time for you to introduce about stomata. Stomata are tiny pores present on the surface of the leaves, especially on the lower surface of the leaf, and massive amount of gases exchange takes place in the leaves through these pores for the purpose of photosynthesis. Exchange of gases occurs across the surface of stems, root and leaves as well. The plant closes the pores when it does not need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and opens when they need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Now next question of 2019-20 is that define and describe the process and function of transpiration in plant by experiment. How does this process help the plant in remaining fresh and healthy? Okay, the answer is the loss of water vapors from the aerial part of the plant surface of leaf through stomata is called transpiration. Transpiration is the loss of water from the leaf of the plant, especially by the leaf of plant. By stomata is called the transpiration. Evaporation of water molecule create a suction which pulls water from xylem from the root of the plant to the leaves. And why transpiration is necessary? Transpiration is necessary for plant to supply adequate water to all part of the plant. The plant remains hydrated since large amount of water can also lost through this stomata. So dear student, look at the cross section of leaf of this portion. This is the midrib of leaf. This is the lamina or leaflet. These are veins. These are phloem, xylem, vascular bundle, and this is vaxicuticle. This is upper dermis, chloroplast. These are air spaces, guard cells, and lower epidermis. So stomata is present here, which do the exchange of gases. And now look at how opening and closing of stomata has been done. So the function of opening and closing of stomata is done by guard cells. These are the guard cells. These are the guard cells. So opening and closing of the pore of the function of guard cells. Guard cell swell. They swell when water flows into them, causing the stomatal pore to open. This is the open diagram of stomata. Similarly, the pores are closed if the guard cells shrink. So when there is excess of water, the guard cell swell up and the stomata is open. But when there is low amount of water, the guard cell shrinks and stomata is closed. So this by this process, stomata open and close. Now next question is opening and closing of a stomatal pore depends on. Here are the options for you. A. Atmospheric temperature. B. Oxygen concentration around stomata. C. Carbon dioxide concentration around stomata. D. Water content in the guard cell. So write your answer on comment. So I am telling you the answer of this question. Opening and closing of stomatal pore depends on water content in the guard cell. When water content is high, they swell up and the stomata is open. When the water content is low, they shrink and stomata is closed. Now next question is during transpiration water is lost in the form of water vapor through. What is the name of this process? Oh sorry, which part act in this process? Option are xylem, phloem, stomata and root hair. Very easy question. I have told about this just 5 minutes before. So answer is stomata. During transpiration, water is lost in the form of water vapor through stomata. Now next question is where do plant get each of the raw material required for photosynthesis? For this, we have an experiment, that is transpiration experiment. The materials required here are 3 small thin leaf plants, 3 small broad leaf plant, small watering can, scale, 6 plant bags large enough to fit completely around the each of plant root, masking tape. Procedure: first, you have to get 6 small plants, 3 with wide leaves and 3 with narrow leaves. Use masking tape and pen to give each one a number. You have to number every plants here. Second, water the plant until water comes out of the bottom of the pond. If the plants are really dry when you start, water them thoroughly and wait for a few minutes, then water them again. When the water has soaked in and the pot is full of water like a squashy sponge, put the plants in full warm sunlight for an hour. So what result you will get? The plant will lose water as water vapors. So how we conclude this? When it's a hot day, we might get a little sweaty. Plants sweat as well, similar to how we lose water through our skin. Plants lose water through their leaves. Okay, this is transpiration is the sweating process of plants. In just 1 year, every leaf on the earth can send out much more than its own weight in water. In fact, large oak tree can contribute 40,000 gallons of water a year to the air. This much water they contribute to the air. That's why we water plant daily. And transpiration help plant to cool down, much like how we sweat. When we sweat, our body cool down. Now we will study about autotroph also need other raw materials for building their body. So water used in photosynthesis, it is taken up from the soil by the root in terrestrial plant. Other materials like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesium are taken up by soil. Nitrogen is very essential element and it is very useful for make synthesis of proteins and other compound. This is taken up in the form of inorganic nitrates or nitrites. Or plant take some inorganic or organic compound which has been prepared by bacteria in the atmosphere, like atmospheric nitrogen. Now by an experiment we will show that carbon dioxide is given out during respiration. And in this experiment, the question is, why do we keep the conical flask airtight? Name the substance taken in small tube kept in the conical flask. Third, state its function and the consequence of its use. Fourth, why does water rise in delivery tube? Or a student has set up an apparatus so that carbon dioxide is released during. Now, case is here. It question has been asked by case also. Case is here that a student has set up an apparatus to show that carbon dioxide is released during respiration. After about 1 hour, he observed no change in water level in the delivery tube. Then you have to write two possible reasons for the failure of the experiment. So here, a student is performing an activity to prove the requirement of photosynthesis. During this activity, he kept two identical healthy pots like this. These are two identical healthy potted plant A and B in dark for 72 hours. After 72 hours, he covered plant A and B by a bell-shaped jar separately, like this. While covering the plant with separate barges, he kept potassium hydroxide (KOH) in the watch glass by the side of plant in setup A, like this. Here, potassium hydroxide in a plate, and both these setup were made airtight, were kept in light for 6 hours. Then iodine test was performed with 1 lip from each of the two plant A and B. So the question is here, this experimental setup is used to prove essentiality of which of the following requirement of photosynthesis. Option are chlorophyll, oxygen, carbon dioxide and sunlight. So which of the following requirement of photosynthesis? And next question is, the function of potassium hydroxide is to absorb oxygen, carbon dioxide, moisture or sunlight. And next question is, which of the following statements show the correct result of the iodine test performed on the leaf from plant A and B respectively? Black color would be obtained in the leaf of plant A. Black color would be obtained on the leaf of plant B. Red color would be obtained on the leaf of plant A. Red color would be obtained on the leaf of plant B. And next question is, which of the following setup can be followed for making in the apparatus airtight? First, placing the plant on the glass platform using a suction. Third, applying Vaseline to seal the bottom of the jar. Fourth, creating vacuum. Options are here, and name the substance. So this is the question related to this experiment. Think your answer, and I am going to discuss you about this answer. Match your answer, whether your answer are correct to my answer or not. So in this experiment, carbon dioxide is given out during respiration. So potassium hydroxide solution or pellets are taken in a test tube and placed in the conical flask. And second, in this experiment, a few crystals of potassium hydroxide are taken in a small test tube and dissolved in water, and this solution is hanged with the thread inside the conical flask. Second, function of potassium hydroxide. In this experiment, carbon dioxide generated by plant during respiration is absorbed using potassium hydroxide. So, potassium hydroxide absorbs carbon dioxide, which causes the flask to become vacuum sealed. The conical flask receives the air that is in the bent glass tube. Then this raises the water level in the curved tube. Then the water level in the tube rises up to some extent. So again we see that why potassium hydroxide is needed here. The whole amount of carbon dioxide liberated gets absorbed by potassium hydroxide to prevent it from being utilized by the plant for the process of photosynthesis. Okay, potassium hydroxide absorb the carbon dioxide, so plant do not use the carbon dioxide released. So we use potassium hydroxide, and this carbon dioxide absorption lead to creating a vacuum in flask that causes an observable rise in the water level of the connected U-tube. Third, any gas produced can neither escape nor can get outside air in. Fourth, germinating seed produce carbon dioxide via the following reaction, and that is aerobic respiration. This is carbohydrate, and it is reacting with oxygen. So we get carbon dioxide, water and ATP, 38 ATP. So answer of this question is carbon dioxide. This experimental setup is used to prove essentially of which of the following requirement of photosynthesis. Answer is carbon dioxide, and the function of potassium hydroxide is to absorb carbon dioxide. Here iodine test we do, then blue black color would be obtained on the lipo plant B. And which of the following step can be followed for making the apparatus airtight? That is placing the plant on glass plate pump, and third, applying Vaseline to seal the bottom of jar. Now next question is, in this experimental setup, on CO2 is released during respiration. If one forget to keep the vial of potassium hydroxide in the conical flask, how will the result vary? This question has been asked in 2018-19 of 2 marks. So in the absence of potassium hydroxide, carbon dioxide released by the germinating cyst is not absorbed. Partial vacuum is not created in the conical flask. Air pressure in the flask is not reduced. Water level does not rise in the delivery tube. So this is the answer of this question. And the next question is, a student conducted an experiment to show carbon dioxide is released during the respiration. List 2 precautions that he must take for obtaining correct observation. So what are the two precautions? So two precautions are, first, the setup should be airtight. Okay, and second, he should take germinating seed. Living seeds should be used. So guys, this is all for today's video. You have seen the first, you are watching the first process, that is nutrition, and you have watched the autotrophic nutrition in this, and that is happening in the plants, also in some bacteria, but we are discussing that is in plant. In next class we will discuss about heterotrophic nutrition. We have seen today about photosynthesis, what are the requirements of photosynthesis, which gas is essential, and we have seen the various experiment to prove light is important, to prove carbon dioxide is important. Now in the next class we will discuss about the heterotrophic nutrition. In this type of nutrition, organism does not make their own food, they depend on the autotrophic organism for their food. So this is the heterotrophic nutrition. All the animals and the fungus, they do the heterotrophic nutrition. And in our next class or next video, we will see the process of heterotrophic nutrition, and then we also see the other process of life like respiration, transport, excretion. So guys, this is for today. In next class we will see the next topics. Thanks for watching. Yes.